Gets the stutters out now. Blah, 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 blah.
Lion face. Ah.
E-E-I-O-U, and sometimes wah.
This is the Citadel Cafe.
This is the Citadel Cafe, episode number 83 for Wednesday, October 9th, 2013. My name is Joel Duggan, and the Citadel Cafe is where my friends and I get together to talk about the geeky stuff that we're into. We cover everything from movies and television to books, apps, and websites. Joining me this week is my friend and frequent guest of the Citadel Cafe, Mr. Joel Cain. Welcome, as always, my friend.
Thank you very much for having me back.
Good to have you, man. It's always fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the cool part with you and I in the show is that without a third, there's no confusion as to who's talking to who.
Which Joel is being spoken to.
Which Joel is being talking to, right? They're spoken to. Talking to? Wow. Wow.
It's all right. You
Joel
had a long
does
day.
words. Joel does words.
No, I don't. Oh.
Okay, so rule number one, I can't speak in the third person. We had this issue last week where I had two Erics on the show. I was like, my God, now I know what my fifth grade teacher felt like. There was 3 Joels in the class.
Oh,
It's
geez.
ridiculous.
I
Yeah.
don't think I've ever met another Joel in my life. Except
Really?
For you.
Except for me?
Well, there was one other, but he was way younger than me. I never really actually met him.
Yeah.
Just knew of him.
In my 5th grade, there was 3 of us, and the other 2 guys were asshats, and they were always getting in trouble. And the teacher would be like, "Joel," and slam her hand on the desk to get someone's attention because they were being bad. And I'd be sitting there doing my math homework like I was supposed to be, and have the living shit scared out of me, kind of going, "What did I do? Oh, never mind. You weren't talking to me. Could you put an initial at the end of somebody's name, please? Just help
It's the
a
kind of thing
brother out."
get you in the habit of bringing an extra pair of underwear.
Yeah, really though. 5th grade, what is that? That's like 10, 11, like age-wise?
Yeah.
Something like that. It's still
Wow.
young enough that you're still scared of teachers if you're, a proper kid.
Right,
And you're
right.
not an idiot like these other kids were.
Yeah.
But yeah, so what's
Still
new,
started-
man? What's been happening since the last time you were on the Citadel Cafe?
Not too much. Just been working a lot. Matt and I have been starting into World of Warcraft real heavy again. So
Oh, cool.
Kind of making me reminisce about college days.
Cool. Have you guys have resubbed then?
Yes.
Nice. Are
Mhm.
you on the Frog Pants server? Like, are you in there with AIE and everybody?
I have 290s on that server, but that's not where I primarily play.
Oh, okay.
But I have no problem jumping over there to hang out with some people, though.
Hmm.
So
Well, Jocelyn and I are both 90, and we're playing. And she's getting ready to do some group content for the Extra Life charity with the Frog Pants community. So if you're interested,
oh, totally.
drop us a
That'd
line.
be a blast.
Yeah, we'll keep you in mind. Because there might not be just one stream. Because Jocelyn is going to be streaming from here on the main network on amove.tv. And then I think Ryan will also be streaming from Ontario on the Gamers Inn Twitch channel. So they're trying to get as many eyeballs happening at once because depending on whether Ryan wants to play the same game that Jocelyn does and
Right,
how
yeah.
many people want to play at the same time. If you get like a dungeon run, you can't do more than 5 people. So there might be a couple things going on. So it should be fun.
Yeah.
And it's all for
sounds
charity,
cool.
which is very cool.
Is that Extra Life thing?
Yeah, it's bit.ly/TGI Extra Life 2013. I hope I got that right. But you can go to gamersinpodcast.com or find Ryan R. Murphy or Jocelyn GIS Gamer on Twitter and get all the information. They've been tweeting out as they've been getting donations and stuff. And they all the money goes towards children's hospitals, and it is a global network. I can't remember the name of the global network for the children's hospitals, but then Jocelyn and Ryan each get to pick whichever hospital is special to them. I think Jocelyn picked a hospital in Toronto where she grew up, and Ryan has done the same or similar with another hospital in Ontario. So
Oh, well, that's very cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
I remember hearing about that actually a couple years ago because when Scott Johnson's Twitter handle was My Extra Life, there was always a bit of confusion around this time of year.
yeah, and I can see that being a problem. When you're trying to do your own brand and do your own
Yeah,
thing,
yeah.
and you get mistaken for a charity, and because I don't know, it would also make it impossible. Like you're trying to manage your brand, and then all of a sudden it's being retweeted or misconstrued, and it doesn't help that, I mean, he's very into video games and
Yeah.
social media
Yeah,
and all
there's
that
a
kind of
ton
stuff.
of overlap.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I feel like last year around this time he addressed it on the morning stream.
Yeah, he did. Well, actually last year he had already changed his Twitter handle, but I think it might have been the year before.
Could have been.
Yeah, he just basically said, he doesn't have anything against the charity or anything. He just gets annoyed that there's that confusion.
Well, yeah, I mean,
But
how can you get annoyed with a children's charity?
right, yeah, that
It's
was his point too. He
for
was
sick
like,
kids.
I feel bad for feeling annoyed, but at the same time, it's like cramping my style.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's
But
like it's difficult for me when I was first getting into all the different online stuff because I was trying to grab my name as many places as I could,
yeah,
and I mean, with my email, I have to throw my middle initial in because I was late coming to Gmail, unfortunately. But there's another couple Joel Duggans out there. Thankfully, they spell their name differently.
oh, that is nice.
There's one G in. I feel like one guy in the States has got one G and he's the painter. And then there's another guy in the US that has, it spells the exact same way as mine, but he's a photographer. So at least the art stuff is very different.
Yeah,
And I mean, the one G, he's got his own domain, but I feel like the photographer has had to do the reverse with his domain. He's had to put like, Joel H. Duggan or something like that in
right.
his domain name because I was fast enough to go and reserve my name. I had joelduggan.com for 3 years before I did anything with it. I just needed to grab it when I saw it was available.
Yeah, I tried to get mine and nothing doing. Can't find any combination of my name that is available.
Yeah. Do you have robot.com?
I have robot.net, not
.net?
robot.com.
Ah, geez, that's close though.
Yeah, .net's not bad. I'm going to use that one as just kind of like my, hey, this is me
Catch
kind of
all?
thing.
Yeah, that's a
Yeah,
good idea.
whenever I actually get around to making this stuff. And and then I'll have, that'll link out to all the other different stuff. So
Yeah. So do you do programming and stuff? Like, are you web savvy to make your own websites, or do you rely on other
yeah,
people to do that?
I am. I was really heavily into it in junior high and high school, and since then I haven't really touched it much, but I remember enough that I could just, take a tutorial real quick as a refresher or something and be good to go. Although to be honest, I'm probably just going to use WordPress because it's so easy.
Well, and WordPress is so customizable. I mean, like I've done some custom CSS sheets for my blogs. I mean, it helps that I use Comic Press for just about everything right now, and it gives you kind of a blank template. It's a
Oh,
very
okay.
simple layout. It's very easy to figure out where the identifiers are for the code, and just going through and change things.
Oh
I'm
wow.
playing around with Comic Easel for a new site, and I'm not sure I'm gonna swing it. I'd love to do something custom, but I mean that involves
Yeah.
time and money that I don't have.
Yeah, it involves a lot of work. And then the downside to that, well, the upside is obviously it's custom. It's entirely yours.
Hmm.
Downside being that WordPress gets updated automatically. Your site has to be updated manually.
Yeah, no,
So,
exactly. So, and I like WordPress actually. There's quite a lot of bit about it that I enjoy. Formatting the blog posts can be kind of a pain in the ass, but that just means that's just I'm trying to get fancy. Like, I mean, if I just wrote a blog post with a picture in
yeah.
it, like it really wouldn't be that hard. Some of the things that I've done with my design for blogs and stuff like that, specifically like the Citadel Cafe, is that I've kept I've made a note of the size of the column, and all the images that I upload are custom sized to the column, so I don't have to worry about justifying text and all this crap. I just post the image at the top and write the blog post underneath.
Yeah.
Attach the audio file and stuff for the show, and that's it.
Well, if it works.
Yeah, well, it's I've seen so many websites get so complicated and so convoluted, especially in the world of webcomics, from
Yeah.
what I can tell. And
Uh-huh.
I've taken a while to strip out some ads and stuff that were doing okay for me, but not great, and kind of streamlined starcrossedonline.com for my comic. And I mean, the Citadel Cafe has always been really simple because there's never been any ads or anything like that on the site. And then joelduggan.com is mostly a portfolio site, so that's just my artwork, just front and center,
Yeah.
with a blog and a live page for streaming and stuff like that. And it's worked out pretty well. The only I'm trying to think about the only thing that's been giving me trouble on joelduggan.com, I think, has been Next Gen Gallery. It's working now, but it's an old version of the plugin. It's the gallery plugin that I have for all my work.
Oh,
And
okay.
when
Yeah.
they updated it, it like didn't work with the new version of WordPress or something like that. So one thing that I find is the crutch of WordPress is that you become dependent on plugins because the plugins are what does the fancy stuff.
Yeah, that is entirely true.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, I haven't had a lot of downtime lately, so I haven't been able to do much on my site. It's at least functioning, and that's the important part. Although I did just make the official blog post today about the upcoming appearance at HalCon. For those of you local here in Halifax, HalCon is the weekend of November 8th through the 10th, and I will be a guest. So woohoo!
Cool.
Looking forward to it. Yeah, we're on the countdown now. It's like a month away, exactly
Oh
a month
man, it's
away.
coming right up.
Yeah, no, I've got some stuff to do. I've got some drawings to make and whatnot to get ready for it. And it's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to be doing some panels. Jocelyn and I are going to do a panel together about
Oh, that's cool.
podcasting. Yeah, and I'm going to do a panel on webcomics with Doug Savage from SavageChickens.com. Very funny
Okay.
stuff. If you guys haven't checked it out, you should totally
No, I
check out
haven't.
Savage Chickens. And I feel like there's one other thing that I was talking. I was toying around with doing a crowdfunding panel, but I haven't yet found other people to do it with yet. So I'm still kind of putting those feelers out. I'm actually going to be meeting with the guys from Where Monsters Dwell at some point between now and next Tuesday. They're another podcast in New Brunswick here in Canada that covers comics and pop culture. And I think they're going to be doing some stuff at HalCon. So we're going to try and team up and do
Oh,
some stuff there, which
cool.
should be a lot of fun. Yeah, no, I'm excited.
Yeah, it sounds
Um,
like a lot of fun.
yeah, and of course I will be posting details about the panels and my table number and all that kind of stuff once it gets assigned, and I'll put that up on my blog, which is just joelduggan.com. Easy to find.
Do you know if they're going to be streaming any of that?
That is a really good question. Last year, local internet provider Eastlink was able to give quote unquote free Wi-Fi to Halcon.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that Eastlink realized the number of nerds that were going to descend on the World Trade and Convention Center here in Halifax and completely screw the Wi-Fi. Like it was impossible to get any kind of signal in there because everybody was trying to take pictures and tweet and do all this kind of stuff.
Like trying to use your phone data in a game stadium, in a sports stadium.
Yeah, precisely. So
Game stadium.
there is talk of free Wi-Fi happening again, from what I can tell. How good that's going to be remains to be seen. I'm not really sure.
Right.
There's going to be some changes though at Halcon that are going to be really positive. The way that that works is the ground floor, first floor is the vendor area and art show. Second floor is guests, panels, and some other presentations, costume contest, that kind of stuff. And then the
Okay.
third floor is gaming, both video and tabletop gaming.
Oh
And
wow.
this year, the first floor is open to the public. So you don't have to buy a ticket to check out the vendors in the art show.
Oh, that's really cool.
Very cool. Yeah, I think they're going to
Yeah.
drive a lot of traffic in there. And then, of course, if you want to go upstairs, you have to buy a ticket. But I mean, it'll be worth it if it's going to be as cool as it has been in the last few years. I really enjoyed it last year as a guest, so I'm hoping to kind of repeat the process. So, and I think it's for anybody that's out there listening and wants to check it out, it's hal-con.com, and you can see the guest list and a bunch of other events and the calendar as it comes together from the people that are putting it all together. But one of the things I'm going to have to resist doing too much of between now and HalCon is playing the Hearthstone beta, which I just got into like 10 minutes ago.
Congratulations.
So I am stoked to check this out. And it might even be something I can play on my Mac, I think. I'm sure Blizzard has
Yep,
equipped
totally.
all that kind of stuff. So I'm not sure. What I want, of course, is, when it's finally released, is to have an iPad version. And then Jocelyn and I can actually fight over the iPad.
I need an Android version personally.
Yeah. Yeah. Would
I
you
have
think,
no
would you play it
Apple
on the
devices.
phone? Would you play it on the phone?
Um,
I feel like it's the
probably.
screen size would
It,
be too small.
it would be really small, but I think they could do it. There is a TCG that I have played on my phone in the past, and it's not a terrible implementation. I just didn't like the mechanics of the game itself.
Right.
So I know it's doable,
Yeah.
but whether or not they're going to support that is another question.
Yeah. What CCG were you playing?
Oh, what was that?
What CCG were you playing?
Oh, gosh, now that you asked me, I can't remember.
Obviously nothing
let's
really
see, there
well known
was-
like Magic or...
Well, let's see, there's an MMO that was mobile only called Order and Chaos Online, I think.
Yep, I played it.
Oh, okay. And they had a MOBA that was Heroes of Order and Chaos, and the CCG from the same universe was Order in Chaos Duels, I think.
Geez, well, they're really cashing in, aren't they?
Yeah, seriously.
Or
I mean,
floundering, I guess.
yeah, it's a fun game. It just didn't hold my attention because I do too much other crap.
Hmm. Yeah, no,
It
I've been watching Jocelyn play over her shoulder, and it looks like fun, and I feel like it might be something that I can actually enjoy with some spare time for video games, because a lot of the stuff like Warcraft, which you mentioned earlier, um, or what about was it not StarCraft? I don't play that so much anymore. Borderlands 2, which I've been having a lot of fun playing. The
Oh, it's a
stream
good
last
game.
Friday night with Gamers In was a lot of fun. Looks like we're going to be doing that again this Friday night after the show. So
Cool.
yeah, it's really entertaining. It's a funny game. But again, like that takes like an hour to 90 minutes to really sit down and enjoy and have fun with some friends and stuff like that.
Right.
So
Yeah.
Hearthstone, I might be able to like get in 15 or 20 minutes as just a quick coffee break, something like that. So
Yeah, definitely.
yeah.
I've just got it a couple of days ago, and what I've been doing is I run WoW in full screen windowed mode anyway because it
Okay.
looks like full screen, but you can alt tab it really fast because it's not technically full screen or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So I do that, and then I set Hearthstone into windowed mode, put it on my other monitor, and while I'm waiting for the 45-minute raid queues, I just sit over and play Hearthstone.
Nice.
It's been
Yeah,
great.
that they actually mentioned that on the instance last week about how perfect would it be for you to be able to play this while you queue for dungeons and raids. So
Yeah, I
I
don't know
don't
what they
queue
were
for
trying to
raids.
do. I don't know what they were trying to do, but I sent them an email telling them how I did it, so maybe they'll get some use out of that.
Yeah, maybe. I think they were hoping for like in game,
Yeah, that would be ideal,
not
but
having to
that's
actually
a
leave the game. Yeah,
pretty big technical challenge.
I would imagine. I would imagine. It looks like a very visually rewarding game.
Yes,
When
definitely.
you beat another person or take another card or do a magic spell, it looks very visual.
Yes.
And it's what I dislike about Hearthstone though is that I had some pipe dreams about becoming a better digital painter and eventually submitting my artwork to the World of Warcraft TCG,
Oh, that would be really cool.
which they canceled.
Right.
So that does not
Yeah.
exist anymore or is not going to continue. So I have to find some other venues to
Oh, well,
try
that's a
and
bummer.
submit some art. So I can still do fan art. So maybe I'll try to do art for the game. I don't know. I doubt that Blizzard hires freelancers. So, but yeah, it's the art for the cards looked really cool, and I guess there's some animated cards now. Or I mean, I'm only having never played. I'm only kind of going off what I hear on podcasts and what Jocelyn has told me. So I'm
Yeah,
looking forward to
and
giving it a try.
yeah, to be honest, I haven't done much more than do like 9 different practice rounds because before you can even do the arena, which is what Dill's raves about, so I want to try that. Before you can even do that, you have to unlock every single class that there is.
Hmm.
So that's what I've been doing. I haven't done it hardly anything else.
Yeah, that's probably what I'll be doing. I'll do the tutorial and mess around and stuff like that. So.
Hmm.
Yeah, well, the other thing that I've been looking forward to is coming up in November as well, and that is the release of the Man of Steel on Blu-ray. It is something I've been looking forward to for quite some time. I don't often buy movies these days, and obviously these kind of movies are the things we often talk about on the Citadel Cafe. And I went to go make a decision now as to which copy, which collector's edition or special edition or 2 disc copy or whatever it is that I wanted. I could not believe the list of stuff and how just convoluted and complicated the marketing is for a simple Blu-ray these days. It was
Yeah.
insane. Have you bought a Blu-ray lately?
I've never had a Blu-ray player, but
Oh, okay.
I've seen the advertising out there.
Man, I mean, like Amazon has the Blu-ray plus DVD plus ultraviolet combo pack. They have the Blu-ray 3D Blu-ray plus DVD plus ultraviolet combo pack, and then the collector's edition, which is the same thing but with either figurines or some special shaped steel book. Like, and then there's like store like box store editions, like the Walmart edition and the Target edition.
Really?
Yeah, and again, like the Target edition has got the steel case. They
Well,
did that with the other one, Superman Returns as well. And it's just I don't know it it goes on and on and on, and it never do they tell you what you're actually getting. So I had to look it up on Wikipedia and figure out what it all was. And it turns out I'm going for the run of the mill Blu-ray DVD ultraviolet combo pack.
okay.
And I don't have a 3D TV. I'm not interested in 3D at all. I don't
Yeah,
need
no
it.
reason.
It turns out you just can't buy a Blu-ray these days without getting the DVD as well. It just happens that they
Huh.
just bundle it. They've got it's like they got the extra rooms in the package, so they might as well just give it to you.
Yeah, well, I guess why not? It's so cheap for them to make.
Right. And then the ultraviolet thing, which is something that I had heard of and knew of, but had to go look up because I'd forgot what it was. And it turns out that ultraviolet is a way for you to own a copy in the cloud for streaming,
Mm-hmm.
which I didn't realize. I knew that they gave you digital versions. Like, I mean, my Hulk Blu-ray came with a iTunes copy that I can then put on my iTunes library and watch digitally whenever I want, so I don't have to, illegally rip, the DVD or the Blu-ray to have a digital copy.
Right.
Which again I thought was great. Like that's thinking forward, fine by
Yeah.
me. So the ultraviolet thing is the same, but streaming. So if, for example, I was away on vacation and I wanted to watch Superman while I'm stuck in an airport or at a hotel, I could watch it on my iPad, not having to actually have the whole movie on the iPad. I could just log into my ultraviolet account, and provided that the internet would be fast enough, I could stream it.
Oh, that's really convenient, actually.
Yeah, I was looking at it at first, kind of going, "Oh God, what crazy crap are they putting in here that I don't need that they're going to charge me an extra $10 for?" And it turns out it's actually quite practical. So,
Wow.
yeah. So
I have one movie on ultraviolet. I can't remember for the life of me what it was, but
Mm.
I know that I have it, but I never actually logged in to see what it does.
Well, and the only reason I'm still buying hard discs is because sometimes we have the odd issue with Netflix. Sometimes the internet can go down when you don't want it to.
Yeah.
There are some movies that I really enjoy having the Blu-ray for, like Man of Steel, like The Avengers, the Batman series. I I notice a difference when I use the Blu-ray player. Now I understand that a lot of the stuff that I stream on Netflix is HD. Granted, a good chunk of that's television, so that's only 720.
Right.
But I've streamed movies off of iTunes, like renting a movie off iTunes on the Apple TV, and that's supposed to be 1080. And I don't. Maybe I'm just getting used to it. Maybe I'm getting spoiled, but I don't remember being blown away by how high def and amazing looking it was.
Yeah, I think that they advertise it as 1080p, but I don't think that any streaming service in the world actually pushes full 1080p because I think they degrade the image. It might come in at that resolution, but I think they degrade the image so that it saves them bandwidth.
Yeah.
Because I've never been blown away either. There's definitely a huge difference between Blu-ray and streaming 1080p.
Yeah, exactly. So until, streaming services get up to snuff, I'm probably still going to have a Blu-ray player or something of that ilk in the home. Although it's funny, I really don't watch that many Blu-rays anymore. Like I'm talking with Jocelyn the other day. I mean, we mostly watch Netflix or the odd rental on iTunes. Like we don't really take the time to put it in a disc. Classic stuff like Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, some big movies that I already own that either aren't available on Netflix or you just want them to be larger than life.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
Definitely.
I don't mind the television though. I mean, like 720 television off of Netflix looks just fine.
Yeah, it does. I've never really had a complaint about Netflix's service.
Yeah. So yeah, that's all the news for me. I mean, I'm looking forward to Man of Steel. I only got to see it the once in theaters, so I'm really hoping that it holds up on home movie.
I haven't seen it at all yet.
Really?
Third confession, yeah.
Yeah, it's good. It is really good. I enjoyed Henry Cavill's take on Clark Kent / Superman.
Yeah, I would like to see it. I just don't get to the theater very often because everybody I know lives a minimum 45 minutes away. So that's part of the reason why I play World of Warcraft almost all of my spare time.
Yeah, well, it's funny, like, I mean, obviously I've been playing a lot more video games since Jocelyn and I have been together. I mean, I've always liked them, but I've never had really a social reason to game. And Jocelyn and I spend a fair bit of time in World of Warcraft. I mean, they're WoW date nights.
Yeah, it's
like
a lot of fun.
Yeah, I really enjoy it.
I totally hope I find a girl that's into that. Some of my most fond memories are in that game.
Yeah, yeah. We've made some really good friends through the game too. Unfortunately, we really only get to see them once a year at Nertacular, so that's tough.
It is.
We need to find some more local people, which is slowly but surely happening as we get more involved with local gaming stuff. But
yeah.
So what have you been watching, man? Anything cool?
Let me scroll down so I remember what I wrote, and then I'll tell you. I've been watching a lot of Preach Gaming. It's a YouTube channel.
Okay.
Speaking of World of Warcraft, like I said, I've been real heavy into the game again, and Preach. His name is Mike Preach, spelled just like it sounds, like he's standing at a pulpit yelling at you or something. But he is a little bit foul-mouthed, but very smart. He's a very smart guy. He's got a real big personality. He comes right out of that screen and talks straight to you. But he has class guides for all the different classes. He's got videos of like the top 5 worst raid bosses in MMO history, funny stuff like that. He's just a really entertaining guy, and he's a really good source of information if you like say I haven't played my Warlock for a year and a half. If I completely forget how to play him, you just go watch his 10, 15, 20-minute video, and then you're good to go.
Nice.
So, been spending a lot of time on there.
Cool. I mean, I haven't watched much WoW streaming on YouTube. I watch StarCraft, and I watch some Hearthstone, and I feel like there was something else that I was watching before too. But for the most part, WoW just doesn't. I can never follow it. Like I can play it.
There's a lot going on.
I can play it and watch what I'm doing and know what I'm doing for the most part. Says the guy that's never raided. But I mean, I I've tanked dungeons. I've done DPS dungeons. I run a paladin. So I mean, I've got some flexibility there. But I don't know that I've ever watched something unless somebody was taking the time to explain what they were doing.
Yeah, well, the problem is that everybody's UI is so drastically different. Because there's almost nobody uses the stock UI anymore. So you go in and like if you go watch one of the streams of one of the people in the race to World First, like one of the pros or something. I don't think they stream when they're actually doing the race, but they stream during their off season, and their UI is just full of all this crap that you've never seen in your life, and half of it is like add-ons that were built in-house that they don't even release because it's just for them to use because it makes them better. So it's really hard to keep track of all the different stuff that's going on. But Preach does a really good job. His UI is pretty simple, and you don't really have to pay attention to his UI because he just tells you how to play the class in general.
That's cool.
He uses his gameplay as an example, but you don't really have to watch it. You can just sit back and listen if you want.
Geez, I'll have to check that out because I mean it's funny that you mentioned that because Jocelyn and I just today were talking about how frustrating we were being endgame level 90s and doing 25k DPS, nothing, like pittance, not worth even taking on the raid.
Well, a lot of that is gear.
Well, yeah, but this is the thing. Like, she's all geared out with Timeless Isle stuff. I've got some Timeless Isle stuff.
Timeless Isle stuff is really deceiving is the word I'm looking for.
Yeah,
because it's eye level 496, but it's not great gear.
Yeah,
compared to other 496.
It's better than what we were wearing.
Definitely.
I mean, everything that we picked up was an upgrade because again, we got to level 90 having only done dungeons, never done any raids, not even 5.2 content. So we didn't do Isle of the Thunder King. So, I mean, all of our gear is just whatever we've picked up leveling off the auction house or whatever. And I can tell you right now, since the Timeless Isle patch 5.4 has come out, there is nothing in the auction house.
Well, there's no reason for it to be.
There's nothing worth buying. It's like, here, this is 15,000 gold to increase your DPS on your weapon by 400. Like, no thanks.
Yeah, it's not worth it.
I'll take my luck with a couple of gems, thank you.
Yep.
So, I mean, anyway, we're talking about nerding out at a podcast. Too funny.
Well, it's a podcast about nerd stuff, right?
So. Oh, it is, but we don't often get to talk about video games.
That's pretty much all I'm about these days. So, anytime you want to talk video games, hit me up.
Well, it's a really accessible form of entertainment, I have to say. Like, I mean, to be able to watch a movie, which we have done in the last couple of weeks, you have to take a couple hours every night, or you've got to watch an episode or two of television, and it can get hard sometimes to say, well, I want to watch a movie, but it's already 10 p.m.
Definitely.
I'd rather just play a half an hour of I don't know, maybe Hearthstone,
Yeah.
And then go to bed at a decent hour. Says the guy who intends to play a half an hour of Hearthstone and then 90 minutes later would probably still be sitting there.
That's all right. I've been up to 3 every morning this week to playing WoW. So.
Oh God, that's the other thing you youngins can do that us working folk cannot.
Oh, it has definitely caused me to be barely functional at work, but
jeez, yeah,
I need to cut back on that.
I can't do it. There's no way. I was just talking with Adam Huber the other day about doing 24-hour comic book day next year. He wanted to do it, and I was like, that sounds like a lot of fun, man, but I'm telling you right now, I will not last and will not do 24 hours. Because, I mean, it's not just, I mean, sure, I could probably pull it off, but I can't afford the, 36 hours of just bleh that I feel
Right.
after I do it. Like, it messes up my entire week. It's not just
Yeah.
one day that you lose. Like, you lose 3 at
Yeah, it does.
least.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a few years out of college, and I'm thinking, oh, I can stay up all night, no big deal. Next morning, I'm like, what the hell was I thinking? This is miserable.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's something that Jocelyn mentioned a little while ago, is that because when you were in college, you could just sleep through class and it didn't matter.
Yeah, exactly.
You have to go to work.
Yeah, that's probably what the difference is.
Yeah,
to be
like
honest.
you still have to get up at 7 o'clock and be to work for 9 or whatever it is that, that whatever time you have to be to work in the mornings. And even for me, like working from home, yeah, sure, I could sleep in, but it's just money I'm not making, work
Right.
that I'm not doing. I've got
Yeah.
commissions and stuff that I have to take care of. Like I can't just slough off and do nothing. People
Yeah,
pay
it
for
makes
this
you
stuff.
feel unproductive.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Well, not to mention I also hate working until like 10 p.m. So
Yeah, that's no fun either.
I generally have to put in between 8 and 12 hours a day. So I want to start at 8 o'clock in the morning so I can finish by roughly dinner time,
Yeah. Looking back, I think the only reason I did make it through college alive was because I never did go to class, which caused me to fail out, which kids I do not recommend.
No.
Finish your classes.
Finish what you start.
It sucks at the time, but it is worth having that degree.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, one of the things that I started this week, as a matter of fact, is Once Upon a Time. And I have to say that I am really enjoying it.
Are you?
Yeah, for those of you that aren't familiar, it's an ABC show. It's now available on Netflix in Canada, which is super cool. And it is basically all of your classic storybook characters are then trapped in the real world by an evil curse, of course, by the evil queen. And they're in a little town called Storybrooke. And Bill Meeks has been on the show, and he's talked about it because his podcast, Greetings from Storybrooke, recaps the show, and they talk about it episode by episode. And now I'm excited that I can actually go back and listen to Bill's show because
Yeah.
I've seen the first few. I watched the premiere a couple years ago. I think they're currently in season 3. And I watched season 1, or the first episode or 2 of season 1 a couple years ago. And it was good, but I remember it being really campy. So I never kept on with it. Well,
Yes, it definitely picks up after a couple episodes.
well, geez, I mean, it was only the first episode that was a little hokey. I mean,
Yeah.
episode 2, I was on board. So Jocelyn and I watched probably 1 or 2 a night. So we're looking at probably episode 8 or 9 right now. And
Okay.
I have to say, it's better than I remember. It is got some interesting characters.
Mm-hmm.
It's certainly worth checking out, and it fills that fantasy void that's currently on TV for us.
Okay.
Or even in
Yeah.
movies. Like until The Hobbit comes out in December, like we want our sorcery and magic and that kind of stuff, and we're not following anything right now that has that. So it really kind of fills that void, and I feel like the only real weak point of the show for us is the villain, sorry, the villain that's in your face all the time. The gentleman named Mr. Gold, who I believe is the real villain, is Rumpelstiltskin, and I find him pretty interesting.
Yeah, he's a pretty interesting character.
Yeah,
For sure.
but I don't really like the evil queen. I understand you're not supposed to like her, but the way that they've written her, she's a one-dimensional character, at least in season 1. She's just every single chance she gets to open her mouth, she is basically telling Emma Swan, the main character, he's not your son, he's mine. She says it 8 different ways to Sunday every episode, and it's just like, oh my
Yeah.
God, I get it. I get that you don't want the birth mother of your adopted son to come in and take him away. Like I understand,
Like,
but
hey, which is the guy your son or what? Like,
yeah, like oh God, it really kind of it takes away from what could be a better rivalry between the two main characters.
Yeah.
But there's some really fun moments. Like I mean, there's a part where they really get in each other's face and they fight. There's a physical altercation that happens. And I loved it because there was no slapping, there was no hair pulling. it was one right hook after the other, and I was like, yeah, a
Get 'em.
real fight. Because I hate it when shows do that, where it's like, two girls fight, and it's just like this grade 7 junior high screaming match with, claws and all this kind of stuff. It's the worst thing ever. And these are two strong female characters, and it was really cool to see them actually duke it out.
Yeah,
I thought
definitely.
it was fun.
Yeah, I'm sad to say I don't actually know much about the show. I watched the first few episodes, like 3 or 4 maybe, but it was on my ex-girlfriend's recommendation, and we watched it while she was in town. So after that, I was like, I really don't want to watch the thing you recommended to me.
Yeah.
But now I kind of want to go back and watch it again.
It's worth
had
checking
very
out,
cool-
especially on Netflix too, right? I mean, you can watch several,
Yeah.
in an afternoon, and if you're on board, great. If not, well, you've only lost a couple hours to watch it, and it's not a big deal. It's not like trying to set aside a specific time of week to tune in and watch
Right.
live. And
Yeah, it's much more convenient.
yeah, absolutely. So so far I really like it, and I won't say who, but they're actually unafraid to kill characters, which I like.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because a
Okay.
lot of times with, especially like ABC shows, the people that are in the credits, they're never in any real peril,
Yeah.
and so I feel like when they start to remove that from the, I guess, the pop culture norm, what you expect going into a show like this, it starts to become a little bit more interesting. As to, I don't know if that person is going to survive just because they're a fairy tale character or whatever.
Right.
There's
Yeah,
a good
that
mix
is
of
pretty
real
cool.
world in there, which I enjoyed. But the other thing that I watched, which has got nothing to do with the real world, was Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter.
Oh, how was it? I haven't seen it yet.
Dude, I'm embarrassed. It actually wasn't bad.
Really?
Yeah, for what it was not bad. They explain a lot. There's, stupid montages and stuff like that. It kind of has a bit of an 80s action movie feel to it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Some of the effects were okay. They're not perfect, but a lot of them were great. The guy that played Lincoln was fantastic, I thought, for the role that they gave him.
Yeah.
I didn't like it when they made them all old. I thought that was kind of boring. And it was all makeup and stuff like that. And it really feels like makeup, having watch the whole movie with a young man, and then they've just kind of put a prosthetic nose and ears and stuff on him, and it's like,
Yeah.
a
A little jarring.
I would rather you just have either switched to a different actor or just not done it. Like just make him look a little bit older, like give him some gray in his hair, but not really push the crazy makeup.
Yeah.
But it was good. It was interesting to see all the history that they actually bothered to tie into it. Like they really kind of made it as accurate as they could, given the story that they wanted to tell. And I was impressed. It's not something that I would normally go out and watch, but we're in Halloween month. We're in the mood to try and watch some vampire movies here and there, and it was on the list, so we checked it out. Yeah,
You had me at 80s style action.
Yeah, no, it was fantastic.
I love that stuff.
Yeah, and we just got a message here in the chat room from Mr. Matt Britton asking if I have read the book, and I have not. I have not read the book.
Me either.
Yeah, so
Since you addressed Joel.
I just took that one for the team. Yeah, so that's kind of it for what I've been watching. What about you? Anything on the nightstand? Anything worth reading? You always have such good book picks.
Well, I have been continuing my trek through the Dark Tower series by Stephen King.
Okay.
But as per usual, there's not much to talk about without giving spoilers out. So I'm just going to say once more, highly recommend it. It's a very good series, especially if you like kind of different types of fantasy. It's not your traditional fantasy, but it's definitely not science fiction,
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, what I have been reading, what I've started reading just today actually, is Dawn of the Aspects Part 1 by, I forget his name. Knapf, I think.
Richard Knack?
Knack, that's the one. Richard Knack, yes. He's written, it's a World of Warcraft book. He's written quite a few books for the World of Warcraft, the Warcraft universe, and I've started reading it because Matt and I are actually starting a new project, which I'll tease at the end of the show.
Ooh, teasers
But
are
it's
good.
it's a good book though. I've read several of his books and a few of the other Warcraft books, and they're all very interesting, especially if you like the game.
Yeah, well, Jocelyn is reading what I guess are considered to be the first 3 books in the World of Warcraft universe. Like it's
Chronologically or
chronologically, like
okay,
it's like the Sundering and like all this stuff back before even.
probably starting with oh crap,
I don't
Rise of
remember.
the Horde.
I don't know. I don't remember the name of them because the book itself is a collection of 3 novels. Like she bought
Okay.
like she bought a tome. It's the size of a Bible, and it's got 3 books in it. She's loving it. Like she, especially being so into the game, it's answering a lot of questions, and it's not necessarily something that you need to be involved with World of Warcraft to understand. But if you are, and it happens to be a fan, and you happen to be a fan, it fills in a lot of the holes that Blizzard has in the game.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And it's the kind of lore too that you don't really have to play any of the games to appreciate it.
Well,
Like
yeah.
you
I
could
mean,
almost
it's
just read the books on their own and have a blast.
yeah, it's high fantasy. Like they still have to explain. It still has to stand on its own.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Cool.
I got a buddy who actually has no interest in playing World of Warcraft because he knows he would love it and he would not play any other video game ever. And
Yeah.
he doesn't want to do that to
Sometimes
himself.
it's important to know your limits if you've got
Yeah.
that kind of a
And
personality.
yeah, and he does. He's the guy on his Xbox. He will not put a game down until he's gotten every single achievement.
Oh,
So
no.
World of Warcraft would destroy his life.
Oh my God. There's so many achievements.
Yeah, but so he's starting to read well, I don't think he started yet, but he's expressed interest in reading the books just because I've told him how cool some of the lore is.
Yeah, I
So-
mean they're worth checking out. I wish the comics were better.
I haven't read any of the comics. I'm
Yeah,
probably going to, but
They're
I
not
haven't yet.
great. I mean, the stories might be okay. I know the artwork wasn't very good, and I heard the dialogue is kind of lackluster. But I don't. I mean, if from the sounds of it, it sounds like they talk down to you, just because it's a
Oh,
comic book. It's
okay.
like, no,
Yeah.
don't do that. Just get some, New York bestseller guy to write the comic book and get somebody talented to draw it. It'll be, I mean, amazing to
Yeah.
see that kind of work. So, but unfortunately, they have not been getting good reviews from the people that I trust in both Warcraft and art communities. They have not been getting good reviews,
Well, that's definitely not a good sign.
which is too bad too, because it's such a visual and rich environment. To do comics and be able to draw like dragons and
Oh yeah,
imps
absolutely.
and all that kind of stuff, and to botch it, it's like, really, like this would be your moment to shine, like, because the game itself is cool, but it's an old game, so I mean it's not crazy detailed with what they can actually do.
Right.
I mean, some of the art that I see on DeviantArt that's fan art of Blizzard properties is just insane.
Oh yeah, it's
Mm,
phenomenal.
if you can get anybody with even half that amount of talent in their pinky finger to draw the comic book, it would be really, really cool. So, and again, I say that I've only ever seen one that I got at a loot bag, and I read it and it didn't turn my crank.
Yeah.
So,
I'll probably be reading them coming up here in the next 6 months or so. So I'll let you know.
Yeah, drop Jocelyn a line on Twitter or email or something like that, and she'll let you know the name of it. As a matter of fact, I think she talked about it on the Gamers Inn.
Well, I can
last
tell you
week.
unequivocally, I will be reading all the books, every
Okay.
single one of them, and the comics are still up in the air. But I'll tell you more about that later.
Cool. Well, the comic that I have been reading is Fables by Bill Willingham, and I love it. I am really impressed. I was not sure going into it, but a lot of friends had recommended it, and they were on sale on Comixology 2 weeks ago for 99 cents an issue.
That's a
So
pretty good deal.
yeah, I picked up the first 10. So it was $10, and I got 2 story arcs. So 1 to 5 is one arc, and then 6 to 10 is the next. What's really cool about Comixology is they let you know. It's part 1 of 5, 2 of 5, 3 of 5, etc.
Oh, that's
So,
nice.
Yeah, so I didn't buy 12 and get 2 episodes or 2 issues into the new series or new story arc, and then have to come back later when they're not on sale or whatever.
Right. Oh, that'd be so frustrating.
Yeah, and it's too bad that they're not 99 cents all the time, because they're a little bit older, because the series itself has got 130 like monthlies. So that would be a lot to drop on digital comics. So I can't
Yeah.
say I'm going to be able to read them all.
Even at 99 cents, that's a lot.
Yeah, exactly. But I have to say, like, they're not a fast read. Like, they're good content. I've read the first 5, which was a murder mystery, and I have to say, like, I mean, that was a good part of 3 hours, of enjoying the artwork, taking my time, and just reading it and enjoying it, and so that was worth the $5, absolutely.
That's
it
awesome.
would be worth the $10, if it was full price. But I don't know how much of this particular universe, I want to get into. The premise is actually remarkably similar to Once Upon a Time. Essentially, all of your fairy tale characters are now living in New York, but instead of a curse, they were forced out of their fairy tale kingdoms by the adversary or the enemy. There's been no indication as to who or what that is at the moment, at least as far as I am in the books. But it's very cool. Like I feel like Snow White is like the mayor of the Fable town, and she's trying to govern everybody, and people are not allowed to reveal themselves to the world. The big bad wolf plays the gumshoe detective that is trying to solve the murder mystery that involves Snow White's sister, who is Red Riding Hood. Like it goes on and on and on, and it's a really interesting take and a neat spin on how to work the the characters from your favorite fairy tales into the real world, what they're doing. And the next series that I'm looking forward to from issue 6 to 10 involves the farm. And the farm is in upstate New York, and that is where all of the fairy tale characters that are not humanoid go to live. So the little
Oh,
pigs,
okay.
the trolls, the dragons, the beasts, and the fairies,
Yeah.
and all the things that don't really you can't just put on different clothes and walk down the street in New York and blend in.
Right.
So I'm looking forward to some of the art and some of the takes on some classic, ghouls and goblins and monsters and different things in issues 6 to 10 for the farm. So so far I've been enjoying it. You can find it on Comixology. I think the issues regularly are $1.99. New comics are $2.99, so they're a little bit cheaper than comics that are coming out brand new for the old stuff. But they do apparently go on sale from time to time. So if you're interested, maybe make a mark or bookmark Fables and see. I think I got a newsletter from Comixology. So if you subscribe to their newsletter, they'll let you know when they've got sales going on and stuff like that, and you can swoop in and pick up a few. And I thought I would feel guilty about reading comics on Comixology and feel weird about spending 99 cents to own a digital thing.
Yeah.
And I really don't. I love the accessibility of it. Part of my problem with comics lately has been not really knowing what to read, but then also not, you know, not having the opportunity to go into the comic store, or you get there and then there's just so much stuff and you just don't know what to buy. And
Yeah.
like, at least with Comixology and stuff, like, you can have recommendations from friends on Twitter, and you can start off with just one, and it's so little effort. Like, you spend 99 cents, you read it, and if you liked it, great. And if you didn't, whatever. And Comixology a lot of times will give you issue 1 for free of a
Oh, that's
series.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, that kind of stuff I'm looking forward to. I've actually got my eye on a very painterly comic called Ravine. And it's high fantasy, kind of like World of Warcraft. It's very, very cool looking. It has been getting a lot of really good reviews. It's published by Top Cow. So I'm hoping to check that out in the near future. But
I swear, every time I come on this show, I got more money to spend.
well, Fables, like I said, is I think now up to $2 an issue, and Ravine is a 165-page graphic novel for $8.99
That's not bad.
digital. Yeah, it's not. I'm on board with that, especially because I can go panel by panel on Comixology, which I actually like. I don't mind the curated version.
Yeah, I kind of like that too. I actually got. Great. Now I completely forget. You recommended a comic series that was free a month or two ago, maybe. I think I was
Free
even on the
comic.
show. Maybe. I
Oh,
can't remember.
Cyber War. Nah, Cyber
Yes,
Wars.
Cyber something.
Cyber Force.
Cyber Force. That's
Yeah.
the one. I read like half of the first issue. I had 2 minutes between stuff, and I actually really like going panel to panel like that.
It was
Makes
fun.
Yeah, it makes it easier for me to follow personally because I never really got into comics. So the whole flow of going panel to panel manually doesn't really. I'm not used to it.
Yeah.
So having it automatically be one panel at a time was really nice.
The issue that I have is twofold. One, the iPad screen is much smaller than an actual comic page. So to go and buy a physical comic, it's bigger.
Yeah.
Secondly, I don't have a Retina screen on my iPad. I have a iPad 2. So the artwork doesn't quite look as sharp when it's zoomed out. Like you can't see all the detail,
Oh yeah. Okay.
or the words get hard to read. Like they're not the text is not nearly as crisp when you're looking at it as a
Yeah.
full page, and
Yeah,
it
because they've
feels
shrunk it
small.
down to fit
Yeah,
on the
it
screen.
feels small. But when
Yeah.
you go panel to panel, you can have the opposite problem. You know, you can look at something and go, "Wow, that's really cool. It's really easy to read." But then you look at something and go, "Wow, it's kind of a sketchy drawing." And then you realize, well, if this was on a printed page, it would be an inch tall, and I'm looking at
Right.
it on a 10-inch iPad.
Yeah.
So I mean, you can get kind of caught up in that sometimes. But if you understand, like if you get the whole view of it, then you say, okay, well, that's not something that was a lot of time was spent on. The main pose is the girl in the front or the guy in the front or whatever. And the way that I read Comixology, it gives you panel by panel, but before you turn to the next page, it gives you a full version of the page,
Oh, that is really
like a
neat.
full view, so you can see the
Yeah.
composition. Because I mean, as an artist, I like to see the page composition and what people are doing with panels, because I find that kind of layout and problem solving very cool to check out. So
Yeah, and even for me, who's not an artist, I could look at the full page and be like, okay, I recognize that this point was supposed to be emphasized, and this panel over here was kind of, like one of those 3-second shots in a movie that, you know, you know what I mean. Kind
yeah,
of,
yeah. Well,
you can see how the focus kind of jumps around.
yeah, well, you can control. I mean, as an artist, you can control the path of the eye. You know, you can
Yeah.
control. You know, focus on characters, which balloons are supposed to be read first, and stuff like that. So,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah,
Yeah.
overall, I mean, I really enjoyed Fables. They did. It's a classic looking comic book. I don't know exactly how old it is, but probably 3 or 4 years. And the artwork is pretty classic. They don't take any real big risks with it. Again, that's the first five. First five. I keep on wanting to say episodes. The first 5 issues. If you continue with it, I'm sure they switch artists and bring a fresh face and stuff in it.
Yeah.
So it should be cool. The other thing that I've been I won't say reading, but is certainly on my wish list is an art book called Masters of Anatomy, and you can find out more at mastersofanatomy.com. They're currently putting together a Kickstarter, which should have launched by now, I think. If not, it's very, very soon. And it's an art reference book. So if anybody that's out there has ever picked up a book on about how to draw, like over 70 years ago, Andrew Loomis created the ideal male and female references, and they've been unchanged. They appear in all kinds of art books. They're outdated. They are a very simplistic style, reminiscent of the time. They give you all the information you need, but they're pretty boring.
Okay.
So what this project has done has been to ask over 95 different artists to give their take on the classic ideal male and female reference poses. And they're going to compose the book out of all of these artists. So you get the same 3 poses for male and female, but you get it by almost 100 different artists. And
Oh,
some of these
wow.
people are classic painters. Some of them are comic book artists. Some of them are really cartoony stuff. Sometimes they're animation artists. It looks breathtaking. It looks like a very, very fun way to look at how all of the different artists that they've chosen for this anthology address the human form and proportions, and how they push it, and how they manipulate those proportions to get what they want, either from a character point of view, from a visual style point of view, from an emotional point of view. It looks like a very, very interesting, I want to say read, but it's going to be mostly a picture book, I would imagine. And if nothing else, even if you're not interested in the book, if you like art, comic art, concept art, they've got links to portfolios for all of the artists that are involved in the book on the website. So mastersofanatomy.com not only is a great place to go look and see what this book is about, but you can just find so many cool artists that I had no idea were even out there. I mean, a couple of people I recognized because I follow them on Twitter or I'm familiar with their work already, but for the most part, this has just given me this hit list of artists to check out and read up on, as they might be involved in comics I'm going to read, or animation projects, or animated TV shows I'm going to watch. It looks like a lot of fun. And if you're interested, then as I said, I think on the website they say that the Kickstarter is either happening or happening soon. I thought it was October 11th. It might be the 14th. Kickstarting Friday, October 11th. So that is just 2 days from now. So yeah, it looks like it's going to be a very cool project.
Yeah, I'm scrolling down the page right now. There's some really cool stuff in here.
Oh man, it's mind-blowing how good this stuff is.
That one girl would be really cute if she was real.
Which is exactly what you're supposed to think. Where's
Yeah,
the Roger
probably.
Rabbit movie when you need it, right? She's not bad, she's just drawn that way. Oh man, well that brings us to the end of the show, and this is where we like to share some funny clips that we found on the internet in the Internet Minute. Joel, what do you have to share with the folks this week?
I just have a really cool little tool. It is called Roll20. It's at roll20.net. It's basically a virtual tabletop for playing games like D&D, Pathfinder, things like that. So it's real easy. It's free. You can pay for premium features, but you really don't need them. You can get by just fine with the free version.
Cool.
And Matt and I are actually going to be using that pretty soon, probably. We're trying to get a couple of our friends motivated to play some D&D, and we're all over different parts of the country, so using Roll20 is going to be about perfect for us.
Right on. I had my first tabletop experience at Nerdtacular, and I played the Star Wars tabletop game.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Jocelyn and I both played. Yeah,
I'm not familiar with that one, actually.
It was cool. I don't remember what I was. I was some sort of alien dude with a funny mask on, and I believe I was a Jedi, or I wanted to be. And and Jocelyn was like this tiny little Ewok ninja with
Nice.
with this little blaster gun, and she was the one that ended up with the headshot winning kill on the boss that we fought in the encounter.
Nice.
Yeah, it was really fun. It was well put together.
Yeah, it sounds like a blast.
Yeah, it was a good time. So we'd be interested in certainly trying out some tabletop gaming. What just out of curiosity though, when you're doing it online, what kind of time investment are you looking at to sit down and play?
Really, it's about the same as playing in person. Well, there's several tools similar to Roll20. Roll20 is by far the easiest one to use.
Mm-hmm.
You can basically walk in there, spend 20 minutes getting familiar with the tools, and you're good to go. The other
Right.
ones, you got to spend a lot of preparation up front, like, all right, I want to create this token to signify this, and this is what I'm going to use for this. And, you really got to, like, almost program stuff into the other ones.
Mm-hmm.
And that turned me off immediately because I was looking for a quick solution, and this is what it was. I mean, playing D&D in person, to really get into the role playing and really have, really get nitty gritty with it, you're looking probably about 2 to 4 hours per session.
Mm-hmm.
You could easily have games that are only 1 hour a session though.
Cool.
The Critical Hit guys, I think they record for like 8 hours at a time and just split it up to release their show. Those guys are crazy.
Yeah, that's a long haul.
You can tell when they're getting tired. At least from what Matt has told me. He's farther into it than I am, but he's like, yeah, you can really tell later on when they get tired.
Well, yeah, I can imagine. I don't know how much of anything I could do for 8 hours straight.
It's
Like
a lot.
I like I said, I put it in long work days, but my tasks vary so much between email, marketing, website building, drawing.
Yeah, you're mixing it up.
Making comics. Like it's quite a range of stuff. Well, my pick this week is a fun video on YouTube that is a viral video, promotional video for the Carrie movie, which is has been remade and is being released in just a couple weeks. And basically what they did is rig a coffee shop in
This is so cool.
in New York with cables and battery operated tables and spring-loaded books on bookshelves. So for anybody familiar with the story of Carrie, it's a horror movie about someone that's got telekinetic powers and can move things with her mind. So during the prank, they fill the coffee shop with real customers, and then a stuntman spills coffee on this girl that's playing the Carrie role at her table in the cafe, and it gets over her, it gets over her laptop, and everybody's like, oh my, that's terrible. Like they're all just looking like, that's too bad. What a terrible accident. Then this chick starts to freak out. She starts screaming at the guy and starts, doing all the stuff. And then she throws her hand out, and there's a cable attached to the back of the guy, and he goes up the wall, and everybody in the cafe loses their shit. It is the funniest thing and the most well put together prank that I've seen in a long time. And like she turns around and she starts screaming and the tables start moving. And I mean, some people at first they're just looking like they're trying to process what they just saw, and other people are just freaking out and running. Like you get to see some real guttural reactions to what would happen if you actually watched someone levitate another person, in real life.
Yeah.
And depending on where you were standing in the cafe, I mean, like if you were in front of, if you were between, if the guy that went up the wall was between you and the wall, you'd never even see the cable. Like
No.
there'd be nothing to indicate what just happened. And I mean, of course, everybody involved was an actor. There were some special effects professionals there. I mean, totally worth checking out if you haven't seen it already, because it certainly made the rounds. Like I think it was on Mashable, and I mean, it certainly got around on Twitter. But man, what a fun video! And it's
Yeah,
only
it's
like
very neat.
2 minutes long. Yeah, very cool.
Well worth a watch. Made me want to watch this Carrie movie. I never even heard of the first one, but this
The
remake
first one's
looks cool.
old. The first one's pretty old. I've heard about it, but I've never really been a big horror fan. I like thrillers, but I'm not a big horror movie fan.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that brings us to the close of this episode of the Citadel Cafe. As I mentioned earlier, we record live every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern on joelduggan.com/live. Music for the show was composed by Kevin MacLeod, and of course, the podcast is available on demand via iTunes and our website, thecitadelcafe.com. You can find show notes on the website, as well as our email, Twitter, Facebook, and Google Plus address. They are all just the Citadel Cafe. Don't forget to turn into, you don't want to turn into the Gamers Inn. They might have an issue with that, but you should tune into the Gamers Inn on Friday nights at 8:30 p.m. Eastern on amove.tv. Don't forget to support Jocelyn and Ryan in their endeavors for Extra Life, for the charity for the kids' hospitals. And you can find out more information about that at gamersinpodcast.com or amove.tv/TGI. My name, as I mentioned before, is Joel Duggan. You can find everything that I'm up to online at joelduggan.com, including my book, Starcrossed Volume 1, which is available in my web store. You can also follow me on Twitter and Google Plus with just my name. Now, Mr. Joel Cain, you've teased us already, and I'm not going to let you tease us anymore. What exactly are you proposing for this special project?
Matt and I, as you know, have been trying to come up with an idea that we can do for a podcast for forever. We've always loved the idea. We've had some false starts in the past, things like that. And we finally hit on our pet project. What we're doing is it's basically just a podcast about the lore of the Warcraft universe, but not just like the video games, but also everything that happens in the background, all the books, all the comics, all the things like that. So it should be a really cool experience for anybody who's even halfway curious about the lore and wants to know more about what's going on. Why the heck is Fang the Accursed some guy that I need to kill in this random raid over here? Those are the kind of questions we'll be answering eventually. So
Wow, very cool.
It should be a lot of fun.
No shortage for content either.
No, there's definitely plenty.
Man. Well, when you guys get it all set up and recorded and you have a website and other things to share, be sure to let me know or come back on the show. And we'll fill in everybody else about what they're supposed to do as the police are chasing down a bandit in my neighborhood.
They're coming to get you.
Yep.
Yeah,
how did you know it was me? Jeez, I got to get better at that.
Yeah. Well, we'll be announcing it on our respective Twitter feeds whenever anything comes about. Mine is just at Robot, ROBUT. You can follow Matt at the Matt Britton, BRITTON. So we'll be putting stuff out there as it comes together.
Sounds great, man. I can't wait.
Definitely.
Well, thanks for being on the show. It's always good to have you back.
Absolutely, it was a blast.
I'm sure we'll have you on again soon.
Sounds great.
You've been listening to the Citadel Cafe, where we are fast, easy, and cheap, but you can only pick two.
I've always been fascinated by the stories. I've just never really gotten into it until now. Basically my source of lore before was Matt, because he basically brought me up through my my Warcraft birth and growth and all that stuff. So I was with him from day one, and we'd be in this random raid and be like, "What the heck is this guy doing over here? This doesn't make any sense." And he would launch into this 20-minute long explanation that completely filled in all the gaps, and I was like, "Wow, that is really epic."
Yeah.
So he's who got me interested in it for the most part.
Very cool. Well, Jocelyn actually has a similar project that she's working on, so I'll let her know what you guys are up to.
Okay, cool.
And see if you guys can maybe touch base, because it would be a fun way to kind of cross-pollinate and promote.
Definitely.
Promote stuff. We've had the same issues. I mean, with leveling being so nerfed in World of Warcraft. We really enjoyed the story, what we could get of it. But the problem is that we would outlevel a zone before we would finish the story.
Yeah, that happens like
It happens
Yep.
from day one. It happens from level 10 on. There's just no way to get all of the story from a zone. And even then, you have to complete raids and, dungeons to get the whole story. And you can't do that if you're only
Yeah.
two people until you're well out leveled. Because
Right.
that's what we used to do. We used to go and experience dungeons, just the two of us. I mean, I would tank and she would DPS. Jocelyn plays a hunter. And we would go into a dungeon that would be 5 or 6 levels below us. And still, able to get XP a little bit or maybe some rep while we're going through. But it would be a totally doable as two people. Or doable but challenging, which is something else we didn't get from
Yeah.
leveling.
And the other problem is on the other side of that same coin is a lot of the stuff changed when Cataclysm came out.
Mhm.
Some of the older dungeons are way different than they used to be,
Yep.
and they'd moved a lot of the characters around. Like Baron Rivendare is now no longer in Stratholme like he used to be. Now it's his brother or something stupid.
Yeah, and and there's some big changes to the Scarlet Monastery, which was my first dungeon,
Yeah.
or first real group dungeon, when I was playing 4 or 5 years ago before I took a big break. I had an Alliance human warlock, and I ran with a bunch of guys from Ohio on a pug for my first dungeon. It was fun. It was a good time.
Yeah. Matt's
So-
yelling at me now because I got Baron Rivendare's Death Charger and he didn't.
Nice. What do you play? What's your main?
I started out with the Warlock. He has by far the most played time of all my characters. I think he's got like 47 days to himself.
Oh my god.
Right now, my main is a Hunter, just because it was easy to play and easy to get back into the game with a Hunter.
Hmm.
And I've also got a Panda, and I am working on a Priest and a Warrior right now.
Cool. A panda.
Or Panda,
monk?
sorry, Monk, yeah.
Monk, yeah.
I always say Panda out of habit,
Yeah,
because my Panda is a monk.
Yeah, I still have all of my old characters, but I mean, none of the alts are above level 40, which is where I left my warlock. But on the Earthen Ring server with AIE, I have two. I've got a monk that's like level 30,
Mm-hmm.
and I've got my level 90. Originally, I was a protection paladin because we did so much, dungeon stuff on our own.
Yeah.
But I've switched to a retribution pally, and I'm feeling pretty squishy at the moment, despite being endgame.
Yeah, Endgame tends to make you feel very squishy until you
Yeah.
gear out.
Yeah. No. Well, I mean, without the shield too, it's a pain in the ass. So
Yeah, you're definitely not meant to take the damage at that point.
no. But I like pole arms so much.
Yeah.
They're such cool weapons.
You can get some really cool transmogs for pole arms too.
Yeah, well, I've got this collection. Like my bank is full of all these weapons and stuff that I transmog, and I mean, being the artist, I've always got to look, put together.
Right,
In,
yeah.
In World of Warcraft, and
Mhm.
and it's something I really enjoy about the game is the fact that you can change stuff. So I really wish they would introduce dye classes or something like that because I want to be able to change the colors of some stuff that's just putrid. That I would never be able to use. But I mean, for the longest time, I had this kind of Oriental looking stuff from Pandaria, and now I've got some different looking things. Like I actually transmogged some rare shoulders from Burning Crusade.
Yeah, Burning Crusade had a lot of cool looking gear.
Yeah, not as a whole, but like some pieces were cool, and if
Yeah.
they're the right color, you could use them with other stuff. So I've got
Yeah, there's a pole arm in there from the Hellfire Ramparts.
oh yeah,
The last boss drops a pole arm. That's a blue pole arm. It's pretty cool looking. I
Oh,
forget what
yeah.
it's called now. Hell Reaver maybe, something like that.
Interesting. I'll have to check that out because I mean,
Mm.
is that a raid?
No, it's a 5-man.
5-man. Jeez,
Yeah, at level 90 you could do it no problem.
Geez, I should farm that because I've right now, one of the coolest pole arms I have is like a red one that's on fire, and I've got
Oh, that
another
does sound
one.
pretty cool.
Yeah, and then I've got another one that's looks like a Grim Reaper's sickle. Like
Oh,
it's
yes.
huge, and that's very fun.
Wait, you have one that looks like the Grim Reaper sickle?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, dude, that used to be a Warlock exclusive item, and
Oh,
I
really?
worked so hard to get that freaking thing.
Well, you can transmog staffs and pole arms now.
I think actually, now that you say that, mine is probably a staff since it's for a Warlock.
Yeah, see now
Probably
that's
not a pole arm.
yeah. See, and this is the thing is that I would like to go back and level my warlock and move him over to the horde side because with a staff I could transmog it to look like a pole arm.
Yeah.
They can walk around with a warlock looking pretty badass.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I always liked having the demons with the warlock. It was always fun.
Yeah. That's something I really miss from the game is all the class specific stuff there used to be.
Yeah, it's gotten pretty, you know,
Homogenous.
yeah, general
Yeah.
mills across the board.
I remember working so hard to get that staff we were just talking about and my Warlock exclusive mount. Oh man, that thing was so cool. Now
Yeah.
everybody gets it at level 40 for free.
Yeah, the problem that I don't like, or the problem that I have with a lot of the stuff is like the class specific gear. Like you'll see something in the auction house, you're like, "Oh my god, that's amazing! It's for Death Knights only." Son of a
Yeah.
bitch.
Yeah.
You know, like it's like, what? Well, what does the Paladin only stuff look like? Lame. Lame.
Oh Matt, what was the Paladin set that was the coolest looking thing World of Warcraft has ever come out with? Matt will know.
Oh,
It's,
it looks
It's
like
like
a pyramid.
tier 3.
Yeah, it's like
I mean,
tier 3 or tier 2.
something like that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was really old, but
It's like a red
that
and
stuff-
gold pyramid.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if you can even get that anymore. Tier 2, Matt
Tier
says.
2, yeah.
You might still be able to get that if you go back and do the raids. And I guarantee that if you at level 90, if you spec tank and take Jocelyn with you, you guys will train wreck that stuff.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Matt and I went to with the we both have hunters right now. We took both of our hunters to Nax, which is a level 80 raid, and we train wrecked all that stuff without even thinking about it.
Yeah, yeah.
Matt
problem
says
too
you
is
can't
that
get it all anymore. That's a
yeah,
bummer.
yeah. Our problem too with raids is that a lot of people want to run them with us, but they want to run them for like the 10th, 12th, 14th time, and we're trying to experience story for the first time, so we don't want to blaze through it all.
Right.
So, but we might go back and start doing some raids because I mean, I have to be honest, I've been pretty bored in World of Warcraft lately.
Yeah, that can happen. Sometimes it's hard to find things to do. If you get to that point where there's not really much else you can do on your own, but the next step is to get into a raid, but not quite ready for that yet. So there's a little bit of in between ground that they need to fill out a little bit.